Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is that time for the Crossfire Show above all vape Crossfire shows. It is time for NVR Live. Sit back, relax, have a vape, and let's get ready to rumble!
Prepare for battle!
You like muting me. Oh, they're saying they have no audio.
Now they have audio.
Can you hear me now?
For some reason, when I updated OBS, every single one of my scene collections switched to the default microphone.
Oh, see, I haven't updated OBS yet. Lucky me.
I forgot about that on Monday and, well, Saturday it happened. I forgot about it today, so I screwed up again, but hey everybody, how are you doing this great evening? We have a great show for you tonight. We have the chat running nice and smooth. So, you know what? I'm going to let Jenn start tonight because she has a few stories she wanted to talk about. And then we're going to get into a discussion that, you know, I've been very disgusted with our community recently about. So, Jenn, why don't you go ahead and start it off?
Well, first off, I'm exhausted, so bear with me, people. I have a brand new puppy. If you guys are on Facebook, you've probably seen him. We are doing this show early. We usually do it on Wednesday evenings, but my husband, for our 30th wedding anniversary, along with getting me a miniature pug, and if I call him, he'll come in, and I'll show him at the end of the show. No, Stephen, they're not going to be appealing the judge's ruling. The FDA came out the Monday after the ruling, and the interim director said he would not appeal the ruling. So, no, they're not going to appeal it. That's exactly what the FDA wanted, which was the 10 months for everybody to get the PMTAs in. And then from the ruling date, 120 days, within 120 days, the FDA was coming out with their ruling, a rule for flavorings. What that is, I don't know. Most likely mid-August to the beginning of September, we will know what that is, the actual new rule for flavors. What kind of flavor ban is coming. But it is in the actual judge's ruling. It's stated in there that there will be some sort of flavor ban coming. I know that there have been a couple stations that said there isn't, but if you go read page 7 of the PDF, it is written in there that the FDA says within 128 days of the judge's ruling, there would be some sort of a flavor ban coming. We don't know what that consists of. I have some personal ideas, but I don't want to do that because Is vaping doomed? I do not know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so as a whole. I think that, unfortunately, you've watched a lot of our shows, and we have said that, for the most part, the vaping industry has pissed in the face of the FDA. We have said that repeatedly on this show. It's going to be very cost prohibitive. Raven, those things that you're talking about are not going to work. The thing with DC is not going to work. You guys have to
industry lawsuit is not going to work.
Not going to work. Anybody else trying to do another organization is not going to work. What we have been doing for years and years and years in this industry is not working. And I've been preaching that for a very, very long time. That's why I promote VAEP, which is something very different. It comes with, it will out the damn politicians. Right now, we have a Congress that makes the laws. Everybody, please, if you do not know how our federal government works on making laws, go watch, it was Schoolhouse Rock, How a Bill Becomes a Law. It is the simplest freaking way to learn, okay? It was done every day after I was out of school way back when. Okay, I'm old, so
hey,
I
remember those, so you're not that old.
How a bill becomes a law. And what it is right now, our House, which is the lawmaking area of our federal government, they make the laws.
It's controlled by Democrats.
Democrats. So, do Democrats give a rat's behind about vaping? Absolutely not. Right now, what is the main focus? Nothing is being done right now in our House. Everything is talked to death in meetings. Right now, just to do anything, for even getting the president arrested or impeached, they're going to sit there and talk it to death, even though the Mueller report says there's nothing to impeach him for. That's what they do. They'll sit there and talk it to death, but they have done less bills and less laws than the last 2 Congresses put together. You guys need to understand that. It does not matter. We all know politicians are corrupt. They're bought. They're bought and paid for. It's not going to out anybody. And unless they can get millions of people there in D.C., it's not going to do a damn bit of good. It's not going to change the FDA's mind. Right now, Congress has given the power to the FDA. And marching on D.C. with a couple hundred people is not going to do a damn bit.
No, the only thing it can... I'm going to answer Steve's, because he's saying...
And so that's... I didn't want to get into that because I knew exactly what Raven was talking about because I saw her post. Yeah. And Raven, that particular thing that they put up hasn't even gotten... It's not even gotten 150 hits by their own people.
And I think it's stupid. I really do.
That subscribe to their channel.
And, you know, here's the thing. Vaping, Steven was asking, vaping's going to be extremely prohibited. I believe what's going to happen is, starting in May, now mind you, this is all looking at the way government works and how slow government works, they're going to start doing all their restricting in a downward motion. They're going to start with what's the most used by youth, which is Juuls and other pods. Those are going to start, if they don't have a PMTA in, they're going to have to start coming off the market, or else they're going to get
no, that's not true. Because in May, all PMTs have to be in.
Right.
And then they have 1 year to remain on the market for the FDA to make their decision.
If they've turned in a PMTA. That's the key. That's what I said. Once the PMTAs are done, that's how they're going to start the enforcement. They're going to start with the pods, I really believe. Then they're going to move to the liquid, then the hardware last. That's how I believe it's going to go.
Yeah,
And
because if you have no liquid, then the hardware doesn't fucking matter. I
yeah,
agree, Hellhound. People don't freaking listen. This channel has repeatedly said pretty much the same darn thing from the beginning. And we have to change our mind from just vaping, and we need to talk about harm reduction. This whole thing was about harm reduction. And once Juul came onto the market, they offer one thing, 50 milligrams, and nothing else. So people started doing this Juul thing, and there was no down. When I started vaping 5.5, oh gosh, over that now, years ago, I started off high and I came low. You know, that was the whole thing, was to decrease your nicotine. There are no other options. Now in the UK, they do have other options.
well,
They go all the
actually,
way
in the
down.
UK, they only have 20 milligram because 20 milligram
Right.
is all that they can have. But see, here's the thing. Here's what I see happening. Sorry to interrupt you, Jen, but
That's fine.
this is
And
how
this all is supposition on our part.
exactly.
This is not absolutely, this is just our thinking, brainstorming what could happen. So,
Right.
other than what we said about the judge's order, which is going to happen, this is all us guessworking. And we
Exactly.
can guesswork all we want.
And what is going to happen probably is you're going to see them go after it in that tier that I mentioned. But what that tier that I mentioned is going to do for us, it's going to buy us time. This is when 2020, we have to get off our asses and get working for politicians who will support us. Just like we had, for instance, a perfect example in West Virginia, all 3 of our congressmen and women and 1 of our senators supports vaping. Praise God, we've got a Republican Congress coming out of West Virginia for the most part, except for Joe Manchin. But every one of our congressmen and women support. If you would have heard Congresswoman Miller, I believe was her name, if you would have heard her from down in southern West Virginia, I believe she's from the Logan area, oh my goodness, she was amazing.
Excuse me, Rob. Stephen, e-liquid manufacturers have known for years this was coming. This is not news. They should have been prepared by now that this was coming.
Yes, and
So I don't have any sympathy.
yeah,
I have no sympathy. They knew this was coming. They knew in 2016. They knew in 17. They knew definitely in 18.
and in all honesty, I'm going to say something a lot of people don't like for me to say. The whole thing is, people were given false hopes with all the lawsuits that were filed.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've always found that people get off their ass when there's actually something that's going to affect them personally.
Right.
Everybody thought we have a saving grace in this lawsuit. We have a saving grace in that lawsuit. You know, I thought there was a possibility, but none of those possibilities panned out.
Amen, Hound. That's it. And Hellhound works for a very small company, and they've already filed their flavors. They have 3, 4 now. I mean, come on, guys. It's not like they did not know this was happening.
You already filed the full PMTA, Hellhound, because there has not been any PMTAs showing up on the FDA website.
They may have them done and ready to file.
Okay. That's the key. You have to have already had all your testing
Not
done.
necessarily, Stephen. And I'm gonna
and all that.
let's just. I don't have sympathy, and the problem is because in most of our e-cigarette market, it's owned by Big Tobacco. So let's not go there. So Big Tobacco does own a lot of our e-cig market, except for Aspire. So let me tell you, there's money there that they can go and do this. A lot of the main e-liquid manufacturers are owned by e-cigarette company or tobacco companies. Let's talk about Juul, that is owned 1/3 by
35%, and that 35%, was proven in because flat out the congressmen and women in that meeting, which we were going to talk about this a little bit on Sunday. Or, I'm sorry, on Saturday. But because we're going to get into the Juul discussion, because that was a show all in itself for Good Morning NVR. But the congressmen and women flat out said Altria owns 35% of Juul. Juul did not correct them or anything.
We already know that, Stephen. The FDA is bought and paid for. But you know what? That's beside the point. We have to remember, this is the same shit that's happened before. Remember in a time not so long ago when the FDA said smoking doesn't cause cancer. Oh, look at all these tests. It does not. We're back at that same thing. So I want to talk about something that I read, and I will put up the link here. Hold on.
Is it the one from England?
Yes.
I'll take care of it. You just talk about it.
It said, and this was an article from The Independent. It's England could become smoke-free by 2030 under new government pledge. And what England is doing is they're actually opening e-cig, what are they called? Those little kind of places you can purchase from, cubicles or whatever. They're actually opening spots within hospitals that people can go and buy vaping items. So if you're a smoker, you can go buy them in a hospital now. That's amazing. I mean, whoever would have thought that? England has been the leader of all of our studies pretty much about vaping. That's why I support VAEP so much. When you go to VAEP, everything has been researched back. It is all backed by science. And right now we need to talk about harm reduction. And Stephen, I saw you say in there that traditional FDA methods don't work. That's not 100% correct. For a lot of people, they do. I know several people.
We just work 200% better.
Several people, they do work. They do work well. I know my daughter's mother-in-law used traditional FDA methods. She did get addicted to the gums and then weaned herself off. But it did work for them. Others, it does not. Vaping is more successful than others of the traditional methods, but they do. So what we want to start changing this message to is harm reduction. We want people to stop smoking. I was watching a video.
In the words of Anthony, stop smoking or you're gonna die.
You'll die. And that's what I always called them, cancer sticks. I would tell my husband, go ahead, go back out to the garage and nail one more nail in your coffin. That's all they are coffin nails. And finally, when he got his diagnosis of beginning COPD, because his dad was dying from it, is the day he decided he was actually going to take it seriously. Some people need that kick in the pants. Mine was tumors. I mean, everybody has their own way. And then, the problem that we have here in America is this. Now, this came off of the JAMA-network.com, and it was JAMA Oncology. And this is part of a study. Now, unless I paid for the study, and I didn't want to, this is just a general synopsis of it. It was published July 25th, 2019, and the title of it is The Use of E-Cigarettes in Patients with Cancer, a Double Shipwreck. That's the title of this thing. So it says Stanford and colleagues must must be commended for confirming that the conventional smoking prevalence plateau, which is more than 50%, demonstrates that e-cigarette use is an epidemic in patients with cancer. Now, my husband and I were reading this, and we about flipped our lids. First, the smoking prevalence. Now, I don't have the link. I couldn't find it. I will find it and put it down later.
In the comments.
Yeah, in the comments. So I'm sorry for that. I tried and I couldn't find it again, but yeah. But this was published July 25th. First, the smoking prevalence finding is not surprising. Only 75% of oncologists assess tobacco use at the intake visit. 60% advise patients to quit, and substantially fewer clinicians recommend cessation treatment, despite the fact that smoking seriously affects outcome. The 5 steps of intervention seems designed to fail. Advising users to quit is naive. Tobacco is among the most addictive products, and of smokers who have made serial cessation attempts, most have failed. Why assess their willingness to quit when no one expects them to be able to quit? These are what doctors are saying about us. Okay? And these are how they're assessing cancer patients. The people that should be quitting.
Mm-hmm.
The people that should be encouraged to quit in any freaking manner on earth. Who cares which way? As long as they're quitting. This was so disgusting. And I'll go on and read this because it got really bad.
I am going to say something because, we do know that vaping is 95% safer than traditional cigarettes. But, I'm going to be blunt about it. We are walking guinea pigs right now. I mean, let's be blunt about it, guys. We really do not know and will not know for about 40 years the long-term effects. That's the blunt, honest truth. Well, I said at least 95% because...
It is 5% the risk of smoking.
At least. According to the Royal College of Physicians...
Yes.
And Public Health England, it has at least 5% of the risks of traditional tobacco. But, like I said, we don't know the long term, so we can't say it is, and that's where a lot of people screw up. They say it's safe. It's not totally safe. We don't know. You need to use at least 95% safer than traditional cigarettes.
Stephen, we're going to put up some things here as we continue on our discussion tonight. I think 1927, is a little bit far. I think those are when the first ones came out, but it wasn't something that was done every day. But I'm going to continue with this article because it's
and there wasn't research. They weren't doing research on it at the time.
There was no research done. Smokers deserve reassurance and proactive treatment by a specialist who can provide motivational interviewing and psychological support, because we're all crazy, which requires time, skill, and monitoring of the belt and braces strategy that combines nicotine patches and oral rescue formulations of nicotine sprays and lozenges to suppress occasional cravings. Nicotine doses must be increased without fear until cravings are suppressed. Smokers must be reassured because most of them are more scared of nicotine than of carbon monoxide or tar, and or wrongly believe that smoking with patches is more dangerous than smoking without them, overlooking the devastating effects of compensatory uptake when trying to reduce smoking without patches. Do not simply ask the smoker to quit, but encourage the smoker to adhere to treatment and increase nicotine doses as needed to address the pain and suffering of cravings. The motto must be to hasten slowly. This is a bunch of bullshit, and this is what your and my tax dollars are paying for. We're paying for this crap. And this is what people are believing. Do you know today, people, they believe vaping is worse than smoking because of this shit. This. By our own people. Even though the AVA, the American Cancer Association, everybody has said vaping is better than smoking, but they just won't come out and say how much better. That was one.
And actually, the first commercialized variation of the e-cigarette, which was not actually electronic, relied on the evaporation of nicotine. They performed the first known formal research in the field on delivery, not on the electronic side of it. That's where the key is here. The commercialization of the product reached major retailers, but the device was never promised technology.
It was
inherently
Japanese
faulty.
Or Chinese.
No, that was actually Phil Ray in 1979.
Okay.
The first patent was Joseph Robinson in 1930, but that was never commercialized, and Herbert Gilbert was never commercialized. The 90s was when few were fairly similar to modern e-cigarettes.
Well, I got surprises for people. I've been cleaning out my bedroom. Where did I put them? I found when my husband tried to quit first, I found his very, very, very first vape he ever got. Hellhound, I understand. It boils my freaking blood too. Oh, there's nothing in here, but the Exhale O2. It was one of these, they came in the mail. And it was a Cigalite. I don't know where the rest of them went. He had a couple of them he tried. That did not work. Oh, here it is.
And guys, you have to remember, as I had said to Steven, I am blunt and honest, and if something isn't 100% in my corner, I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you, because the thing is, too many people try sugarcoating everything just because they don't want to tick anybody off. But the thing is, if you don't know the exact thing, then we are doing you wrong, not telling you the exact.
Right, and we try as hard as we can to be. Here's another one, and it's probably not charged. This is another Cigalike that he had. It's called e-cigs. Came in this little package device.
But
yeah, it's a Cigalike, and it plugged into your computer to charge.
Yeah.
And here's the little tips.
But yeah,
so
I mean, in my honest opinion, what's going to probably happen is you're going to see the market drastically change, prices drastically skyrocket for at least 2 to 3 years.
Yes, I think so. I think it's going to...
Then what's going to happen, in my personal opinion, is vaping is going to bottom out for a couple years. We're going to be low on vapors. But then, once something happens in Congress to separate us, if at all possible, from the Tobacco Control Act, or at least to change the way we are regulated, then we can rise back out of the ashes like a phoenix.
True. Hopefully.
I mean, I don't think it'll ever 100% die, because you're going to have people, no matter what, making e-liquids. and then they're going to see smoking rates go up.
Well, here's the thing. They did didn't a PMTA or something like that go through for a cigarette with lower nicotine go through?
No, it's
recently?
been submitted. It's been submitted. Has not went through yet.
But there was a PMTA sent through for one.
It's been submitted, yes, and it's being reviewed.
Right. So the problem with that, though, it's still combustion, and that's the problem. It's not the nicotine that's the issue as much as the combustion that causes cancer. Stephen, I do not know. The problem is this lies in the hands of the FDA. In my personal opinion, by the beginning of September, there's going to be a problem. We are going to have some sort of flavor ban actually become a rule. I'm guessing, and this is only
will
my
be submitted
opinion,
as a rule for a notice of proposed
an actual
rulemaking.
rule which becomes law, because Congress has handed that ability.
But they still have to do the notice of proposed rulemaking first.
But they've already done that for flavors.
No, they haven't.
Yes,
no, they
have.
haven't for flavors.
Yes, they did. We just did that earlier this year. Yes, we did this year.
That was the
already.
advance notice of proposed rulemaking. They have to do a notice.
No,
they have to
we've
do
already
both.
done that. I think you're wrong. We've already done that. We did that earlier this year because we all submitted why flavors were important.
I honestly don't. I think they're going to have to do a notice as well. I'm 90% sure that if you do an advance, you have to do a secondary, because the advanced is not meant for the consumer. The notice is meant for consumers.
I think, though, you're wrong on this. Based on that lawsuit, they have to do one or the other, because then they can be taken back to court by the American Pediatric Association. If they don't, they have 120 days from that particular. It's in that thing with the judge. They have 120 days from his ruling to come up with something on flavors. They said they would.
Right, in a notice of proposed rulemaking.
No, you're wrong. Go look at page 7 of
I don't
his
see
ruling.
how they can bypass that, to be honest.
They have to, or they'll go back to court, and then the judge will decide for us. You don't get that. They can step in. You're wrong on that.
But still, no matter what, it's not going to happen for at least 2 years. Because even a proposed rule takes about 2 years to be finalized. They will do
a temporary flavor ban. They can do that in the next... No, you're wrong. Oh my gosh, where's my thing? I'm going to have to pull it out because you're wrong on this one. It was in the ruling. Here it is. Didn't go too far.
Because no matter what, anytime there's a rule, they have to provide a comment period.
This is a current ruling. You're wrong on that. Because the judge can step in. There's precedent for that. You're wrong, Rob.
I don't think I am. Because no matter what...
It says their goal of page 7 of the ruling is their goal of not driving e-cigarette products out of the market appears to be part of a broader attack on tobacco by encouraging the availability of potentially less addictive products. And it appears that in the new guidance that the FDA expects to approve within 120 days, the FDA plans to accelerate the pre-market review requirements for the products that are most attractive to youth, such as flavored products.
The pre-market approval. It says nothing about an actual flavor ban.
Consistent with the Tobacco Control Act.
Just so everybody knows, right now we're not taking any calls. I don't know if that's someone calling in, but I'm not taking any calls right now.
You're wrong. They're going to. And if they don't, then the judge they can go back to court. And
I don't think I'm wrong because they have to provide a period. They cannot do a straight rule and make it the final rule. There has to be a comment period.
Not always. In this, if you read this, The judge can overstep that. There has been precedent for that before, and it's documented in this report. If the FDA has not acted accordingly or fast enough, the judge can step in, and they've done it before. And it's documented here over and over again where they have.
I don't agree with that. This is just where you and I are going to have to agree to disagree.
Either, but they
because
can.
I don't believe that's the case. This is where you and I are going to have to agree to disagree. Because I do not believe that is the case.
Okay.
I honestly believe they do have to do a comment period because it is...
No, they don't. They did already.
That was for the notice. It is not, and that was not for the common person. Technically, we should not have been commenting on an advance notice of proposed rulemaking. We should not have been commenting, but we were. They still have to allow it up for public comment, not just industry comment.
Not right on this one, and everybody else has agreed with me. Even the lawyer I talked to on Twitter says I'm right. The judge, the pediatric people can take them back to court if nothing comes about in 120 days from that ruling and can say, Judge, they didn't live up to the agreement set forth in this.
If they're in the process, that should cover it.
In their ruling, no. They can say the FDA did not do what they said they were going to do in this ruling. Now you have to decide.
All they said they were going to do was accelerate. That's all they said they were going to do. Accelerating
they were going
into
to do
the
it
next
in 120
level.
Days. Something would be done.
Into the next level of the rulemaking process. You have to go through the process for the rulemaking.
Okay.
Right, Stephen. You were able to make a comment, but you were not supposed to. I did not. I had done some more research. Technically, it was only industry and doctors supposed to be making comments in that first comment period. I did not know that. And they have to put it up for public comment a second time.
It was up for public. Anyway.
That was not public comment period.
Okay, but let's talk about the next thing because you're wrong. I've talked to several lawyers and you're wrong.
Well, the thing is, until I see it in writing, I follow the...
It is! It's a judge's order!
Jen, you're not listening to me.
It's a Supreme Court ruling.
First off, that was not a Supreme Court ruling. That is a Circuit Court ruling.
Oh, it's State District Court for Maryland, but this will supersede it. This
District Court.
Anything that the FDA does. They can step in.
Because here's the thing.
They've had 2016. That's what the pediatrics are saying.
See, I disagree with you. Because...
Okay, you can, but you're wrong.
Because the only way they can do it without, okay? Because here's the thing. When they wrote the final rule, they did not address flavors. So therefore, they have to do the rulemaking process according to federal statute. Federal overturns state statutes and overturns that. The thing is, a federal statute has been voted on by Congress, and federal statutes have to be followed. And that is a federal statute that they have to provide a comment period. They have to provide a second comment period.
Jigga, it's all depending on how you read it. And like I said, I've talked to a couple FDA lawyers that have been watching this closely, and they both have said to me that the deeming rule is different. This is Juicin different. This is based on because of the epidemic, and this is all based on that court ruling, and it's a little different.
And it's going to be shot down.
Wait, Rob, there's precedent. When a judge, people can take the FDA to court, and they have in the past, when they don't see the FDA working fast enough to their satisfaction, like the American Pediatrics, etc., that took the FDA to court. they felt that the FDA was not working fast enough, that since 2016, August 8th of 2016, the FDA has been working on the vaping crap. And they're like, well, here's this epidemic now of kids, and it's all stated through here, and it's all about the flavors. This whole thing is about kids and flavors.
Now,
what they basically
let
said,
me ask you
and the
this.
judge says, is that flavors do not, and it's stated in here, really, there's no U.S. studies that say flavors help or electronic cigarettes help adults quit, really. So in the past, the judges have superseded FDA law or rules and forced them to do things. So in this, the FDA said within 120 days they were going to do something about flavors. Stop, Rob. And in this, if the FDA
I didn't do anything.
Listen, wait. I know, but you were getting ready to. I know you.
No, because
in this, if the FDA doesn't, then the American Pediatrics, I will guarantee you, will take the FDA back to this judge and say, what the F? They said in 120 days they would do something about flavors. They're not doing anything except doing another comment period. That's not good enough.
And that is your interpretation of
the judge will say, done.
That is your interpretation of the decision. I am just stating what federal statute states.
Well, you can state that all you want, but a judge can supersede
and see,
it.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And this is what probably is not being taken into account. Question. Was flavors originally in the FDA final rule?
No.
Yes. It was originally. And the Office of Management and Budget pulled it out. It was originally in the FDA final rule. The judge pulled it out. Or not the judge. The Office of Management and Budget pulled it out. This is not the same circumstance probably as what you guys are using for presidents, if that is the case. Which I believe that you guys found presidents. I really do. But I'm just stating.
I didn't find it. It's...
Or that somebody brought up precedents for it.
It's in here for precedents where a judge has superseded an order of the FDA.
But I do not see... If anything, they'll skip the notice period and go into the first part of the rulemaking to where they produce the rule. Then they have to have a comment period for that rule. Then they have to have a certain amount of time. And then they have to provide the final rule. There is still at least 6 months to a year in there. At least. And that's the thing. The way it's coming across is that day it's going to go into effect. It can't. Because they have to provide the people. Because otherwise the judge would be a dictator. We do not live in a dictatorship. I agree with you,
but unfortunately, he's looking at all this, and you're right. The judges shouldn't create law, but what he's trying to do is enforce it. And I don't agree with it. I don't agree with anything in here. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with what the FDA is doing. I don't. I hate all this. I should be able to do this. But you know what? Then we can go into what everybody says. Well, I should be able to do heroin. I should be able to do whatever the hell I want. Well, we can't. We're governed by laws and all that kind of stuff. But do I agree with all of them? No. I think that a lot of this all is corrupt.
And here's another question.
And I agree, Juicin. They should interpret the law. But unfortunately, we have so many judges out there making it up as they go along. It's insane. Unfortunately, I live on the West Coast that's very liberal, and my Ninth Circuit judge is an asshat.
And here's another thing that was probably not precedents for that. The simple fact that currently the people are working on a fix for that. There is currently bills that are addressing that are not moving in Congress. So therefore, it is not the will, because it is not, as of right now, the will of the people.
Nope.
That is the key. It is not the will of the people, and the people are the boss of the government, not the other way around.
That's
courts
not
are not the
entirely
judge of the people, or courts are not the boss of the people. The courts interpret the law.
True.
So,
but the problem is, and we see this now going on, like I had said before, with the whole thing with the president, and whether you agree with him or not, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on this. But, the Mueller report comes out, and on all aspects, it says they can't even convict him of collusion. And they sit there and they're going to spend more of our tax dollars finding a charge for him. And you go, why? Let's move on. They're not looking at, they've raised our debt ceiling now again. Like, we can afford that. They're taxing us to death. We've got all this other stuff going on. They're not passing bills. They're not doing what we sent them there to do. This is very hard. And now they're out for what? A 10-week break for summer? It's like, damn, can I have that much time off? It's insane. They will sit there and they will talk about it to death and nothing gets accomplished. Nothing. So that's the whole thing. Now, one thing that did come out that I liked, I haven't read it in its entirety. I don't know if it's going to make a hill of beans, but it's nice to see Thomas J. Miller. He is the Iowa Department of Justice. He's the Attorney General. He did write a letter about the crisis of vaping. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It was very well done about overregulation of the vaping industry. A lot of these, are fantastic. I mean, he's like, your first applications for e-liquids are $131,000, devices $466,000, subsequent applications and their costs, breaking it down. But this is just extremely prohibitive. It will put the pop shops that have small liquid lines out of business, that may not have, done it like they should have, putting some money away for the PMTA process. But if you have not seen this or read it, I encourage you guys to do so. It was well done. I'd like to see more about this. And of course, it's talking about what we want to talk about, which is harm reduction. Reducing the harm, getting people off cigarettes. And honestly, I don't care how they do it. I want people to stop smoking. I've just passed the 1-year mark that my father-in-law died of end-stage COPD and emphysema. I gave him his last shot. He died. He died from that. He drowned to death, and it was a horrific death. And I sat there giving him breathing treatments over and over again as he could not breathe. He couldn't even walk from his bedroom to the kitchen table, which was 12 feet, without horrendously not being able to breathe. Now, my husband and I have just been married 30 years, and in the 32 years that I knew my father-in-law, he never smoked a day in his life, but he smoked up to 4 packs a day before I knew him. And me, my husband, my brother-in-law, my mother-in-law all smoked around him, so he was getting the secondhand smoke that we were doing.
Yeah.
So I contributed to his death. I'm just as responsible as if he was lighting those cigarettes. And so, we've got to stop this endless cycle. I have, 2 kids of my own. Both my husband and I smoked. My daughter chose vaping. My son, who sat in the back seat. You're choking me! Everywhere we went. Ended up being deployed, and he ended up smoking. Hid it from me until I found out, and I was vaping at the time. Hid it from me, and then I sent him a device and got him to quit.
But yeah, Jen.
Yeah, we've got to get people on a track. And to be honest, I don't care if they pick up a cig-alike. I don't care, if they pick up an FDA-approved thing. I really don't. If it helps them to quit, then so be it. If a patch works, if the gum works, if the lozenge works. I really don't like the Chantix because it's an antidepressant, but so be it. As long as they are not doing combustible tobacco. That's what's killing people.
But yeah, Jen, the only reason why I am being so staunch about the way I am about this is because technically, if they were to say this is the final rule automatically, they are bypassing so many different levels. Because
I know.
Now there is a saving grace, because what has to happen with a final rule?
You have to give a period of time to comply.
No, not just that. There's a key that a lot of people forget.
I'm sorry, I'm forgetting it then. And I'm sure you're going to say it.
The House and the Senate can step in, one
True.
or the other, and say, no, we are currently working on this process. Give us time. And they have to stop rulemaking.
Well, the House won't. The House doesn't care.
House won't, but if the Senate does, guess what? One place says that, it reverses it. It can reverse it. And honestly, there's enough conservative Democrats that if we threaten to filibuster something that the Democrats wanted through,
we couldn't filibuster the House. There's no way.
I don't know. We don't have 63. We don't have over 60 or have under 40%, do we?
I don't know.
I thought we had over 40%. Well, see, here's the thing, Stephen. Nothing's going to happen in Congress after November.
Once we hit December, a lot of this shit's going to stop.
And that's why I don't think this rulemaking process is going to be able to go that fast.
The FDA won't stop. The FDA won't stop. But the House and the Senate, depending on what seats are coming up, will, because they'll all be in election season then after December.
And the thing is, if they bypass the notice of proposed rulemaking, guess what can happen? That is when the industry can step in and say, look, you are bypassing a major step of the rulemaking process. And it can be reversed, if that's the case. I don't personally think it is. I think they're just going to come out with their notice of proposed rulemaking and then come out after the second comment period. And mind you, that is up for debate if they have to have the second. Through all my reading, they do. Because everywhere I find stuff about when it comes to the rulemaking process, says there has to be, if there's an advance, there has to be a notice. Everything I'm finding says there has to be.
I don't know. I think with this judge ruling, because he puts in there the precedent cases before.
Because here's the thing. I just read this, and this is straight off of regulationroom.org, which is a good place to find stuff about regulations. The only way they can fast track it is if the proposed rule concerns only routine or uncontroversial things. That is the only way they can bypass a second notice of proposed rulemaking.
I don't know. Not if there's a judge.
Because they have to provide a proposed rule in the final register. They have to propose the rule, then provide... Because even if they skip the first, they have to propose the rule first. Then they still have to provide another comment period.
But does it have an exclusion, though, for judges' rulings?
No.
Well, then I don't know where they're getting all this precedent, then, because they've done it before with judges' rulings. Let me see. Where are the ones that they're referencing? Hold on.
Because then after they do the proposed rule, they have to provide another comment period. Then they go into the post-comment internal review. Then they go into the outcome and can either change or continue on their course. And then they have to provide it to Congress. No, Vape, he's not going to have a field day because I'm reading it straight from good resources.
Wait a minute here. Hold on.
But yeah, I'm pulling it straight from good resources. And you know what? I don't give a crap about little Eddie.
Here it is. I ordered the parties to submit additional briefing regarding a remedy while noting that any guidance providing for a compliance period will, of course, have to adhere to the notice and comment requirements of the APA. Now, wait a minute. May 15th, 2019. Now, that is, as defendants note, I did not suggest that the FDA needed to issue a formal regulation in lieu of guidance as it has done previously. So it's saying right there they don't. That's on page 2.
But wasn't that about the timetable and not about the e-liquid side of it?
No,
because that was the main part of the lawsuit. Was the timetable. It wasn't, because the thing is, this was not even in the final rule. It was originally in and removed.
These are the requests.
Because they saw it was going to have too big of an impact.
It says, here's the legal precedent. The Sixth Circuit has noted the court's authority to order injunctive relief to address agency action or inaction. It's in here.
There was no inaction because there was no initial action. They were not originally, because the Congress has not given, the only place they gave them the right was in the Maine Tobacco Control Act. Could they turn that around and say, well, that applies to the final rule? Possibly, but they probably won't because they haven't done it yet. Because the Maine final rule does bring up characterizing flavors, but that's on cigarette tobacco.
It is well established that federal courts possesses broad discretion to fashion equitable remedies. See United States versus R.W. Mayer, Inc., blah, blah, blah. It also is established that it may craft declaratory an injunctive relief designed to preclude a federal agency from acting in contravention of its statutory and regulatory authority. See Howard versus Pierce. Holding that the court may award declaratory and injunctive relief in order to ensure that the Department of Housing and Urban Development, this was just about that one, furthermore, may require an agency to modify its current or future practices in order to account for past violations of its statutes or regulations. See another one. So it's in here quoting all of its decisions.
Which they have no statutory backing.
Doesn't matter.
There's the thing, though. If it was the will of the people, everybody likes to quote the will of the people. It would be in the final rule.
Like I said, people, Stephen, I know.
Well, no, not really, Stephen. Because here's the thing. Before the Tobacco Control Act, There were menthol, there were vanilla cigarettes, there were strawberry cigarettes. There were a lot of tobacco cigarettes that had characterizing flavors. There really were. I remember those times. Because they were also going after cigarillos, which a lot of cigarillos are grape flavored, strawberry flavored. I'll be blunt, I vaped Black and Milds that were strawberry and vanilla. I vaped them with characterizing flavors. So, and those are supposed to be off the market. I know they're not, but they're supposed to be. But that is also what's included in the Tobacco Control Act, is cigarillos. And that's pretty much what they were affecting in the Tobacco Control Act of 2009. When they talk about characterizing flavors. I even remember that Camel had a orange flavored cigarette that they were putting out in the late 90s. So, no water in the bottle? What's that look like? There's water in there. Somebody said there was no water. But, you know what? Both of us will just have to agree to disagree, because both of us have totally different interpretations of that.
Vodka, that's what I need, vape boy, let me tell you.
But, okay, I'm going to say something, because, you know, both of us have been on each other, but both of us know each other well enough that we can go after each other and everything be good.
Oh yeah, no, we argue like cats and dogs, but he and I are best friends. I mean, I love Rob to death. And you know what? In the end, we always come back to the table and we're fine. I mean, I have no problems.
Exactly.
He'll admit later I'm right. He always does.
But I'm going to be blunt with people. You know, there has been some, for lack of a better way to say it, some asinine actions from, and I'm going to call them out, I don't give a damn if they want to troll us, from the Vaping Legion recently. I am removing myself currently, as we speak, from their group.
I've been gone.
But there's been some very asinine actions from them in the last, I'd say, 5 months. Or, well, no, the last 2 to 3 months. Some very asinine actions. And I'm going to call them out on it. Because, you know, the thing is, we as vapors are very protective of vaping. Yes, we are. We are very protective of what we know to be a life-saving technology. But you are stupid to use some of the terminology that has been used and some of the personal attacks that has been done. Because I follow Twitter all the time on you don't know nicotine. You know, everything I had always seen, it was, you know, I'll be honest, I was kind of ticked off until I really thought about it. You can ask Jenn. I was really ticked off at their first trailer. But then when I really thought about it, he never really promoted this as a pro-vaping movie. It was a study on nicotine. It was looking at nicotine and finding out more about nicotine. But to attack someone, anyone that believes strongly on something about personal things, or to attack someone personally saying that their husband is banging his intern and things like that. That makes our community look trashy. Bottom line, it makes our community look like trash. We want to be an adult industry. Act like an adult, not like a 5-year-old. Don't be out there calling people names. Don't be out there just trying to tear somebody down. This whole attack that they've done on Aaron is stupid.
A personal attack.
Yeah, it's been a personal attack.
You don't have to agree with it. You know what? But come after it with facts. Let's hear the facts. Why don't you like it?
And, the thing is, what we need to do as a community, we need to all, for lack of a better way to say it, I'm going to use what I used on the thumbnail. We need to just sit down, relax, take a Xanax, calm down, and wait for the fucking movie. Excuse my language.
We don't, yeah. You know what? It's about harm reduction, people. It's like we've been continually saying. And actually, Vapor, I agree with you absolutely 100%. That's why I have really, in the past, 8 months, been promoting vapworld.com, because it comes about this as a harm reduction, and it links back to things that are science. It's backed by science. And that's what we're talking about here. Nicotine is a science. Now, as we all know, I'm a mom. I don't want kids doing this. I don't want children vaping. I don't want children smoking. I don't want them doing lozenges. And we all hear the headlines. Little kids that were in, I believe, elementary or middle school that were daring each other to do lozenges, and they got sick and put in the hospital. I mean, do we really want that of our kids, getting nick buzzes?
No.
Come on. I don't want that of my granddaughter. I don't want that. I didn't want my son to go off to Afghanistan and have to hide that he was smoking. I mean, we don't want that. I mean, we all know that the human brain is so huge. I mean, there's so much we don't know about the brain. There's part of it we don't even use. I mean, people that have had strokes, people that have had major illnesses. I mean, shit, people can have half their brain removed and still walk and still do all the normal functions, because the rest of the brain will take over. We just don't know why. So, you know what? Let's talk about harm reduction and what is nicotine about. I agree. There's signs of it helping with people with anxiety. But a lot of people, and more and more and more, are saying this, especially when they see the little devices like this.
Yeah.
That if they go out with this, they'll ask, is there weed in here?
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Because it's very popular to have, I'll be honest, I know somebody that bought one that looks just like a regular vape device that they actually put weed in.
This, yes.
Well, no, that's technically hemp. It's not weed. There's a difference.
Mine has 50-50.
Okay.
Now. So I have to be honest. So yes, but I'm not going to vape it on show.
Because it's medical purposes, though.
Yeah, for me, it's medicinal. But yes, this does. But you know what? I don't want people coming up and asking me that. And when they see kids with these, that's the first thing they think, that and they can hide it that way. And so, you know what? Kids are kids. I was a kid. We all smoked, except Rob, before our age that we were allowed to. And we hid it any which way we could. We stole it out of our parents' purses. At least I did. And we hid it. So, yeah, you can put it in. Yeah, I stuffed mine sometimes in my cigarettes when I was younger.
I have a friend that used to
I
do
don't want
that.
to talk about when I was a kid, man. I was bad. Yeah, Steve, I did that too.
But yeah, I mean, just guys, like I was saying, just take a chill pill, take a Xanax, and calm the fuck down. Give him time to make his movie. I don't care why he's dealing with all the organizations. I just want a factual movie. Bottom line.
Well, not even that. But you know what, guys? If you have some facts to come up against him on what he's saying, then I'm glad to look at them. But be factual. Don't give me any crap. And when I saw that Twitter post go out about that, I was so sickened and disgusted. I couldn't believe it. And to know that it was one of the major YouTubers doing it, I just shook my head. And that ended my total support.
And I'll tell right now who it was. It was Matthew Salter from the Legion. It was Salter from the cunt. That's his name. And, you know, the thing is, that was just the wrong way to do it. Bottom line.
You don't do that. You don't speak to a woman that way. You know, if my husband ever talked to me that way, my husband wouldn't rise from the floor again.
But you know what, guys? We were going to make this a short show, and it turned into an hour, 10-minute show.
No way.
Yeah, it's 1:10.
Wait. Oh, does everybody want to see my puppy? I'll go get him. He's probably sleeping. I'll go get Teddy real quick. I'll go get him. Ow, I know people would ask. Teddy bear. Oh, he's in his crate. Aw, crazy.
Yeah, Vape. I mean, that's the thing. And that's why I'm like, you know what? Just give him time to do whatever he wants to do with the movie.
Here's Theodore. He's a brindle. He was sleeping in his crate, and I didn't even put him in there. He went to bed without me. Oh, there's one yawn. Yep, he's 14 weeks old. He'll only get about 15 pounds. Oh, he's snoring with his eyes open, guys.
Yeah, and he'll wake you up in an hour or so to go back out.
Yeah, he's my baby. He's my new baby. My other gift for my 30th wedding anniversary from my husband.
But, guys, we are going to head out of here. So, as always, guys, you know what's coming up. You gotta fight for your rights, guys. To vape, yeah, baby.
Love you all. Be safe and remember to vape and breathe. Check out Vape World. We're really excited that they raised the $10,000 that they needed for the Edmonton paper ads. And so be on the lookout for the next fundraiser, and we hope to bring them down here so that we can get the truth out and help us here down in the U.S.
Yeah.
So we love you all.
Talk to you later, guys.
Bye.
Nobody panics when things go according to plan. Even if the plan is horrifying, nobody panics. Because it's all part of the plan. Well, then everyone loses their minds.
Hey, if you like what you've seen here, there's much more to come. Just click one of the two boxes up here in the corner. And you know what? If you've liked it, make sure to subscribe. Just click the little button right there. Talk to you later, guys.